Welcome. My name's Phoebe. This is my first YouTube video. This channel's going to be all about, it's for me mostly, and hopefully some of you might enjoy what I make and want to follow along. I do a lot of knitting and sewing, and I'm trying to eventually have everything be homemade. But this channel, is going to be all about that. This first video is going to be my knitting, because there's actually not as much as I thought there was going to be. It's sort of a funny process when you come to do these sorts of things, and in your head you've got a catalogue of everything you've made, and it's very different from the reality. You think you have like hundreds of things, and I have a lot, but it's not as many as I thought, which is interesting. But yeah, this first video is going to be, it might start in chronological order of things I first made, and then eventually it will lose all order and it will be what I think I made next, but maybe I didn't make next. Sometimes I'm quite spotty with what I make and when I started it and when I finished it. I have a habit of buying yarn, sort of not knowing necessarily what project I'm going to do with it, and then I realise I don't have enough, and so the project has to rapidly change. The first jumper I ever made is the one I'm wearing. It's, I should have gotten the book. It's a Rowan, I think it's called the Bramble jumper. It's a super chunky knit. I did it all the way back in first lockdown, which, can we remember what was happening then? I can't, it's like a black hole, what happened. I do actually have a ball of yarn. Yeah, it's the brushed fleece in anthracite, shade 00262. Yes, just it might be called Pete, or I don't know, something like that. It's a very nice jumper. I think the picture of the jumper on the knitting pattern it's got stripes. But I'm not a stripy person, and I wear a lot of black. And so this first jumper was just that. It was something that I was hopefully going to wear a lot, and be very warm, because I live in a cold, very cold Victorian house. And it's, what can I say about it? It's lovely wool. It's, I think they call it blown. So it's very sort of light and airy, but incredibly warm. It's a mixture of wool and alpaca and polyamide, but only 5%. So I don't knit with nothing, not that I, I do have something against acrylics and plastic yarns. I don't like them at all. But the 5%, I think it gives it structure, so I'm willing to give on that. But otherwise it's mostly natural fibres that I will work with. As a first jumper, if you want my advice and you've never knitted before, doing a jumper like this is perfect. A super chunky yarn. It knits up incredibly fast, and by, after a couple of days or however long it takes you, you've got a jumper, and it really sort of spurs you on. At the same time that I was making this jumper, my partner was making another jumper, and he chose a very nice one, also Rowan, but it was on much smaller needles with DK weight yarn, and unfortunately he didn't finish it. Not that that's a comment on him at all and his abilities, because I think he did a very good job, but it's a quite arduous thing to have to knit up first time round a jumper like that, and I think he sort of lost a bit of the enthusiasm. But he did get very far. He did, I think he did the whole back, and he got halfway to the front of the front, But anyway, I did actually finish that jumper, and that is somewhere in the pile somewhere. Yeah, so it was the first jumper, Bramble Rowan, very good. It wasn't knitted in the round. That was something that I ended up having to get used to. This was knit back and forth, and it was in pieces, so it's the front, the back, the sleeves, and then you mattress stitch it all up together and do the ribbing. I love it. It's got its problems, not anything to do with the pattern. Although I realise I don't really enjoy knitting separate pieces. It's so much funner when it's in the round because you've got a jumper by the end of it. You've got no seams. But the problems that come with this jumper are things that I have done myself. It's not to do with the jumper pattern at all. You know, this was my learning jumper, so it's got some problems with it. I think I picked up around the neck wrong, so there's a bit of a hole here. But it's also my first jumper, and I love it. My second piece of advice, actually, if you've never knitted anything before, you know, you could do a scarf. That's a bit of a marathon. Well, it can be a bit of a marathon, and it's not as exciting as having a jumper, you know, something that you can wear. So yeah, knitting something that's super chunky is brilliant, but then also do not be adventurous, is what I would say. So if you wear black and grey a lot, which I'm sure everybody does, or a lot of people do, knit it in black, knit it in grey. Don't, I wouldn't be exciting because you want to get lots of wear out of it. It's your first jumper, it's so exciting. So knit in a colour you literally wear all the time, even if you might not find it very exciting. So after that jumper, or this jumper, I knitted jumper number 15 by My Favourite Things Knitwear. That was a very good, this is another very good beginner jumper. I did a good job, I think, choosing these jumpers. Or I did up until the next one after this. I did a sort of mixture of yarns. I wanted something that was sort of beigey but not warm. I don't suit warm colours at all. I don't think I need cool colours. I'm also very pale, so I don't like wearing white because it just, I don't know what it does to me. But this was sort of, I think, a good balance of beige. My lighting might be a bit orange, so it might be kind of hard to tell. But I'm going to start an Instagram as well, so if you're interested in these jumpers you can see what I'm going to do. But I did one strand of a 4-ply in beige. It was Drops Nord in colour number 7, which I think is just called beige on the website. And then I mixed it with Drops Kid Silk in shade 20, which I think was, I can't remember what it was called. I might write it down over here, but I also might forget. So I did it in one strand of that as well, and then another strand of, it's the chalk colour in the Kid Silk mohair. So I had 3 strands, and that was quite something to knit first time. It was sort of new to me, but I'd seen people do it online, so I thought I'd give it a shot. Yeah, it's lovely. It's very oversized, it's very light, and very soft. I don't wear it all the time just because I don't often wear light colours all that much. I do tend to wear very dark clothes. But having said that, it is a lovely jumper. It reminds me of sort of toast, the brand toast, not the grilled bread. It sort of reminds me of one of their jumpers, and I think that's you've hit it right when it looks like a toast jumper, because they are just lovely. They just come with a very high price tag, but it's lovely. I like it a lot. The only problem I find with it is you can't, if you're planning on doing anything practical, if you've got washing up to do, you ain't doing it in this jumper. It's so annoying to have to roll up the sleeves or get your partner to, come on, roll up my sleeve for me. It's it's annoying. But in terms of snuggling, into a sofa or reading a book or going out and not doing anything practical but just looking nice, then it's a very good jumper. And I recommend. I think it knitted up quite fast. And it was very exciting. So next, so she does good. She made good decisions for those first two. They knitted up very well. They knitted up fast. All good. I then went. I'm probably could be described as overly ambitious, foolishly so perhaps. And I attempted to make the Skall Studio Oda Vest. Now I do have a finished one, but this was fairly recent that I actually ended up finishing it. And I did it in a different colour because I did. So I attempted to make this, which is beautiful cables. It's wonderful. I'll reiterate again, I only finished this fairly recently, maybe 6 months ago. But this was my third attempt at a jumper. The first two successful. Number 3 didn't go so well. I started off fine. No, actually, that's a complete lie. I think I was doing the ribbing and I did the classic mistake of switching up the purl and knit. So I was knitting on the purl and purling on the knit. So I got a funny stripe. And then I just kept going and I just thought, it's just going to be an interesting detail on the jumper. And so I kept on going, and I made it again. I made that problem again. And then I just kept going and I thought, I don't care. And so I kept going. And it was actually going quite well after the ribbing, which should have been the easiest part of this jumper. And I was in the round, doing seed stitch. It was all going very well. Doing this lovely cable pattern. Is this gonna? Yeah. Lovely. So nice. And I got to under the arm. And that's where you have to split off and work the front and then work the back separately. And I don't know what happened, but I didn't understand the concept, the instruction of turn when it came to being in the round. Obviously I was splitting up the jumper for the front, so when you turn you end up just working the front or just working the back, depending on where you are. And I just didn't understand that concept in relation to then also another bit of the instructions that's, boring, to say the least. So I got stuck for, I think, a couple of months. I asked my partner's grandma about it, and she, I think I had an epiphany, and I thought, I know what the problem is, and then I lost that epiphany, and it went down the drain, and I was stuck still. So that was on the needles for a very long time, and it was very discouraging. Especially when you've got just the bottom bit done and you think, I can see what it's supposed to look like. But it didn't work out. Hey ho. I'll talk about this one anyway. I did end up realising my mistake, and it was about, it's when I looked at the charts, because I had only been reading the written instructions, and then I realised there was a chart, and I thought, I understand what happened and what went wrong. So I chose another colour. It's the Drops Merino Extra Fine DK weight, and this is colour 6. I think it's like a grey brown. It's lovely. I was a bit worried about all the Skall Studio knits that I'd seen. It was done in a very natural wool, and that has a different body to it. I think sort of slightly lighter but more robust. And when I started doing this in the merino, I was a bit concerned because obviously its drape is very different. It's much heavier and sort of softer, more pliable. But it's actually lovely, and I am knitting it again in the original colour, in the cream. I don't know if I said that before, but in the cream. And it's really nice. I think it holds a nice. It shows the stitches off nicely. It's incredibly warm, really soft. So I really like this. It's probably one of my favourite knits. This one went wrong as well. A lot of mine, if you watch more of my channel, you'll find my sort of strange philosophy. Or maybe not even, maybe it wouldn't be called a philosophy, but I have a strange line of where something's wrong and when something's right, or when I care about something being wrong versus when I care about it being right. So with this, it went very wrong at the top when I was joining the shoulder to the front. I won't show you because I think no one can see. It doesn't really matter to me. But that was enough. I could say, I love the jumper. I sort of don't care if it's wrong a little bit. But then there are some mistakes that happen that I really do care about. And I'm very particular about colour, so if I don't like the colour, I won't wear it. But yeah, there's some little higgledy-piggledy idiosyncratic things that happen in these knits that you'll see. So after that, it was the Petite Knit Sonja jumper. This is one of my favourite jumpers, and it's a favourite of most of the people that I meet that like it. It's such a good shape. I mean, it's just a classic. It's drop shoulder, so warm, just such a nice jumper. And I think part of the reason I love it so much is actually just the yarn as well. In general, I knit with whatever's, I won't say cheapest, but I do tend to knit fairly inexpensively. Or I will wait till something's on offer, or wait for birthdays and Christmases for people to buy me the nicer stuff. This one, my mum bought me the yarn for. So thanks, Mum. It was West Yorkshire Spinners Fleece Jacob Aran knit in light grey, and then I used it might be the colourway 12, I think. It's this really lovely, almost purpley brown, beige. I don't know, it's so hard to describe colour. But I put them together because I wanted this sort of soft grey that was not just grey but had a little something in it. So I used both those together. It also helps, it's not like an itchy yarn, I wouldn't say, but the silk mohair does sort of soften it up a bit. It's just such a nice jumper. It knitted really well. Petite knits, I probably don't have to tell anyone who's watching this who likes knitting how good her patterns are. They're so nice. So yeah, that's a really good knit. And I in terms of all the sizes I knit, I always knit sort of things that are oversized. So mostly I think I knitted the small or the medium in this one. For the two other jumpers, yeah, small or medium. So what did I do next? So after that, I think my boss actually from work gifted me some yarn. So thanks, Simon. And I made another one of the my favourite things knitwear jumpers, number 15. This was a drops lemur in the sort of light blue, and I knitted it again with a drop silk mohair in the light blue again. Oh no, not the light blue, the other blue. I don't wear this one all the time. I did wear it recently and I saw a photo of me in it and I thought, gosh, that's a nice jumper. So maybe I'll have to wear that a bit more, but again, I think, yeah, so this is a good example of something that sort of, it went a bit wrong. I just kept it. I messed up with the turns on the edging of it. So I don't actually know how I did this, but it's got sort of one strand of yarn and then all the other stitches are sort of wrapped around it, but it means that they're all loose on the one strand so they can sort of move up and down. It's a bit odd and it does annoy me quite a bit, so I probably will eventually sort that out, but yeah, again, that sort of little mistake. Tea break. So, next, I don't know if this is starting to go out of order now. Probably it wasn't very well in order anyway, but so the next jumper I think I did was, I'd obviously regained a bit of my confidence and my knitting skills, and I attempted Skall Studio again, this time the Sophie Knit. It is such a nice jumper. I really like Skall Studio, just do such beautiful knitwear, and it's just yeah, there's just something about the jumpers that are just so lovely. It's very nice. I knitted this in, again, it was a anything that's not drops is pretty much been gifted to me. So it's the fleece, it's this one, blue faced Leicester DK, but in the white. And to me, it's again lovely yarn, but it was a bit buttery, a bit yellow for me. So having learnt from my second jumper, my favourite knitwear jumper, I thought, I'll mix it with some different colours to sort of tone it down and make it a bit cooler. And so that's what I did. I did that DK weight yarn, and then I did 2 strands of lace weight, the drops, and it was chalk, and I think I did it again. I did it with the number 20. I can't remember if I said that before. They do look very similar. But anyway, yes. And I was a bit worried that sort of beigey, sort of purpley one would actually stand out a bit too much and it would be a bit mild in a way that would not please me. I didn't have to worry about that. It mixed together and it made such a nice, cool, coloured, it's really sort of, I don't know, there's something about it which is just very nice. I think I got stuck on this one at one point. I asked the team at Skall Studio to help me out and they sent some good instructions and that did help me. I knitted this one around Christmas, I think. And this one was great because I think it was the first time I blocked a jumper and it became something else. Often with these sort of jumpers that have got a lot of pattern in them, or cabled or whatever, you know, they can, around where the ribbing is, it can sort of clinch in and then it makes a sort of odd ballooning shape to the rest of it. That's what sort of happened when I sewed it all together and put it on. I thought like, oh, it's really nice, but there's something a bit funny about it. And then I blocked it. It all smoothed out, like the miracle of blocking always does. And it just became wonderful. It's such a nice jumper. And not too hard. I think the more I knit, you know, I'm relatively new to knitting. I think, you know, 2 years or there's been gaps in between when I've not knit because I've been travelling or working or doing something else. So I found, you know, the more I try these sort of more ambitious knits, the more I realise you can very quickly learn a new stitch and it become part of your repertoire. So any stitch that I didn't understand, I would Google, and that was that. You learnt that stitch. This is one of my favourite knits. It's the Louvre jumper by Petite Knit. This is another one where something went a bit wrong. I think in the middle of choosing to make this jumper with this beautiful blue, I was actually wearing this before the video, I was sort of clashing with that blue. I was sort of blending into the background, so I took it off. I started knitting it. It's very easy. It's really nice. It's got this much wider neckline that went slightly higher. I actually did write down what size I did. I did the small. And I think I didn't do as many rounds for the neckline. I think maybe like 1 or 2 rows I just didn't do. Started the body and you're doing it all in the round, so you sort of start getting to the shoulder, and then before you want to do sleeves you sort of put them on you put your stitches on hold, and then you start the body and you do the body in the round, blah 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 blah. Before I started doing the body, I don't know why I thought this, but I just thought, you know, the batch colours when you buy yarn, it doesn't really matter, they're all pretty much the same, you couldn't really tell. Sometimes you definitely can, and you can with this jumper. I like to think of it as being a bit wabi-sabi, you know, the colour changes halfway. It's okay, it's just the sort of, it's got character. So it does change tone halfway through the jumper. I don't know if we can tell. It's just around here, I think, that it changes colour. Not dramatically so, but yeah, if I could have had it all the same blue, then I would have had it all the same blue. But having said that, it's such a nice jumper and I love it. And I wear it all the time. I think it's a really nice silhouette, and it's the first raglan style jumper I made. And it's lovely. I really like it. I recommend, if you're going to make a jumper, just take note of the batch numbers. So I also did that yarn I used for a scarf, a very beautiful scarf that will be coming up. Some of the knits that I have tried, I think that I might have even started earlier, were vests from My Favourite Things Knitwear. I unravelled one of them that I did in white. It was an absolute effort to unwind it because I did it in 3 yarns. I did it with one DK, 1 4-ply, and then 1 lace weight. I think I was getting carried away with the using multiple yarns and mixing the colours together and making something nice. And it was instead of having to buy a Aran weight yarn, so I thought, oh, you know, you do something a bit fancy. It was a really nice colour and I really like it, and I sort of have had half a thought to make it again out of the same colours. But I made a size medium, I think, and it was, I cropped it a bit too much, and then it was a bit too oversized, so it's sort of, it just didn't look right. And if something doesn't look right, then there's no point in keeping it, because you're not going to wear it and you're going to look at it and be annoyed that you didn't do something better with it. So I then thought, I'll knit a smaller vest, sorry. So I knitted the extra small. I don't know why. I actually do like the fit of this jumper, but again I made it too cropped. I was knitting this while I was going to Scotland and with some people, and they were driving and it was sort of me doing it in the car, and I should have just added more length to it. I'm really annoyed that I didn't, because I actually love the colour, and this is a time where again I did 3 yarns. I'm very specific about green, oddly specific about green. This green I think is lovely. It is the Drops Laurel colour, I think. Very similar to the Drops Flora in the green, colour 15. Somehow online it looked like the 2 colours were slightly different, but then again. And then I also did a Drops Kid Silk in the colour 37, which I think was called Northland Green or something similar, which is sort of a darker, more bluey shade. And together I thought it just made such a nice colour. Again, it's too short, which is very annoying. I was inspired by the toast. I don't think I even saw the pictures of it online. I just saw the campaign picture of this lady, I think she was wearing a bikini, but she had a nice green vest on, and I just thought, oh gosh, that looks so nice. So I knitted something similar, and it's lovely. The extra small actually sort of fits right width-wise, but yeah, again, too short. My sister, the one that's just one older than me, because I've got 2 sisters and an older brother, she bought me some yarn for my birthday a couple of years ago. This was it was a Rowan. I actually can't remember exactly what the colour's called, because I haven't got it anymore. But again, I made another vest out of this blue, very similar to the Drops colours that I was using. And this happened again. I got my partner then bought me West Yorkshire Spinners, the Croft yarn, in one of the blues. And when it came, I thought, oh god, I've done it again. It's a very similar shade to this blue and to the other blue, and a bit of a mistake. But I am using it currently to make something, so it's not so bad. But I don't wear this one again. I think it's the blue. I think I just don't wear such a light colour blue. Again, I wear darker colours. So this is also another lesson for you, anyone watching, is sometimes it's nice to knit something in a colour that you've it's a pop of colour. Or if you have an idea of things that it will go with that you can wear very often. I love this blue and I think it looks really nice on me, but for some reason I don't wear it all the time. Maybe I need to make a different pair of trousers that just suits perfectly that blue, but I've yet to make it. So as it is, I have a lot of that colour blue, and I don't wear it very often. Something to change, perhaps. The jumper I made for my partner, I did it in a different yarn. It was the Isager Aran tweed in black. It's a speckled yarn. It's really rustic feeling. It was pretty funny to knit with because it was very irregular in its spunness. But it's lovely. It's a really nice jumper. He wears it all the time, so in terms of the successfulness of a jumper, that's pretty successful in my books. I find with a lot of the jumpers, again the second jumper that I made him and this jumper, is that the necks really sort of blow out He likes it, so it's not such a big deal. But with a lot of my ones, I've had to sew in a bit of or thread in some elastic to sort of keep its shape. Because it is a bit annoying. I mean, it's nice for those jumpers. It works fairly well. But yeah, anyway. So, a lesson for everyone here, or a lesson even just to myself, is that the expensiveness of a yarn isn't necessarily indication of its quality. This is a Rowan yarn. It's the hemp tweed. I think they've discontinued it now. I thought the colour was so nice. It was this sort of really very much midway between blue and grey, and just depending on what light you're in, it changes. But this is the jumper that my partner started in lockdown, and I finished it for him as a gift because he wanted another jumper. I had to buy another set of yarn from a lady online who had it in her stash. She had 6 balls of yarn, and I think how many did I go through? Maybe 4. Robin had bought all the yarn he thought he needed for the jumper, but maybe my tension is slightly different. I never do a tension gauge, which is, I just always assume it's going to work out, and it sort of does in some way, so I don't know if you really have to. Yes, but I bought this yarn. It's lovely. I love the colour. It's more expensive. I think it was about £7 maybe per ball of yarn. But it piles like crazy, or pills like crazy. I've already debobbled and depiled it, and it still piles like crazy, to the point where sort of it's annoying. You're sort of disappointed that you spent more money on it and it didn't perform very well. And I think, cheaper yarns get a bad rap for piling badly, but lots of the drops yarn, which is on the more budget side of things, I've not found it piles that bad. So, lesson for us all. I'll do the accessories now. They were intertwined within all of these jumpers that I've made. I think I made sort of hats when me and my partner were going to Norway. We were gonna do wild camping and do a through hike that was going to be 3 days long, and we've not done a lot of, at that point we'd not done a lot of hiking or through hiking and camping, but the priority was to make these 2 hats. We didn't end up doing that. We actually just stayed in an Airbnb, and it was lovely, and we stayed in Bergen, and it was such a nice place. We would love to live there. But I made these 2 hats. Both of them are Petite Knit. I made it out of the blue-faced Leicester West Yorkshire Spinners yarn. I'm making something at the moment. I'm making the Ingrid jumper from Petite Knits out of this, and it's so soft, it's so nice. Sort of the more I talk about it, the more I realise sort of my favourite yarn is definitely the West Yorkshire Spinners. I think the colours are also just so nice. They're cool and sort of rustic looking and just really nice. But I made 2 hats. One is just a stocking knit one by Petite Knit. At this point I didn't have double pointed needles, which meant when it came to the end I was doing a variation on the magic loop method, but I'd not looked that up yet, so it was sort of me figuring it out. I also did the instructions wrong when it came to the turns, so it is sort of, that's not supposed to be like that. Also, this one just ballooned. It became absolutely gigantic. It's like a sun hat. I do quite like it. This one was supposed to be for my partner and he did wear it a lot. But it is a bit ridiculous how much it's ballooned. I don't know if that's the yarn or my gauge or whatever, but it's quite crazy. But then I made the ribbed Petite Knit one. It might be called the Oslo Hat, which fit quite well since we were going to Norway. I think I actually did this one fairly well. It probably went a bit crazy at the top again because I didn't have the double pointed needles. This one's not ballooned so well, so much, but it was really nice. I love it. My partner Robin has taken this one from me as well. And I've got to make him I want to make him a new hat. Next off, I did the balaclava, or I like to call it my bonnet, from my favourite things knitwear. It's got a hole in it now, because I use it for work. I'm an electrician, and it gets very cold sometimes when you're on site, and I like to protect my hair from like plaster dust and brick dust and all sorts. So I made the bonnet. I do get made fun of. They take the piss, but it's lovely. And it's a lovely green. It's the Drops Flora, and then I did it was the Rowan Kid Silk. Well, it's not called Kid Silk, but you know, it's the lace weight. And it's just the green, the sort of olive green. I think it's so nice. It's sort of stretched out a bit, which I liked, because I did make another one in a sort of purple, and it really hugs the face, and because my face is quite, I won't say round, but fairly large, it really sort of wraps in and makes you look like a little baby. Which you could go for. It's quite nice sometimes to look like a little baby, but I'll show it to you. And this time I did it in purple, it's the Drops. It's the Drops Kid Silk purple colour, and then it's also the Drops Flora in the purple. I'm sorry I'm not very good with the keeping references for the colours and what sizes I do or what needles I use, but this is, you know, because I'm only just starting this YouTube now, I'm only just sort of paying attention to it now. So this one, I can't really see myself because I've not got my contacts in, but it hugs my wee bonnet. It's sort of, yeah, I think it's nice. I haven't actually worn this one all that much yet, because I've been wearing the green one and I didn't want to get it all dusty. But this one's a bit tighter. I'm going to make one for my, not Serena, my older sister, but my other older sister, Chloe. I'm going to make her one out of this sort of rusty red, because she said she wanted one. This was really nice to knit. I think it's called Broken Rib. It's really lovely. Very warm, very stylish. Very good, depending on how cold you are as a person. I'm always cold. My hands and feet are always cold. My head's always cold. So any sort of accessory that can sort of wrap you up is good in my books. This marathon of a video. The last 3 knits. I'll do this hat. This was out of whatever I had left from my Sophie Skall Studio knit. So it's the West Yorkshire Spinners, and I held it double with 1 strand of kids silk mohair from Drops in the marzipan colour. And this was a free pattern I think I got online on Lovecrafts. It's just a nice hat. At this point I had bought the double pointed needle, so the rest of knitting the top of it was very easy. It was really quick. I think I did it in like an afternoon. I think because also the two Aran weight yarns made a chunky knit, so chunky knits fast. I do wear this a fair bit. I wore it to Scotland and that was really nice. It's really warm. If I can remember the name of it, I'll put it in the corner. I'm learning all this through editing, so there we go. Very recently, I think just the other day, me and my partner went to Oxford and we went to the Oxford yarn shop. It was very nice, very cosy, and a very nice man behind the counter. Yeah, it's funny, when I was talking about the colour, pick yarn that in colours that you wear a lot. I don't always follow that advice, and this was the example. This is like a berry plummy colour. It's the Sophie Scarf. It's just the little one. I think I made it in it's the little version of the scarf. It's not the shawl, but I made it in the large size, sorry. I saw this yarn. It's a Rowan yarn. It's the felted tweed in colour 186. It's alpaca, wool and viscose. I just thought it was such a nice colour. I think it suits my skin tone. It's nice and cool. It's not really red, but it's not also purple. It's a very in-between shade. And as a little scarf, it's really nice. It's not like I'm not wearing this to stay warm. Right here I've got the scarf that I used to stay warm with. But it's, I don't know, it's a little stylish thing. And I used one ball of yarn, which was so nice. I'm so used to having to buy more of the yarn and then being resentful of the expense I've paid. But this was one ball of yarn. I could have made it larger and used the whole ball up. I did buy 2 balls because I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to make with it. But then the Sophie Scarf, I think I've seen lots of people knit with it, so I just thought, why not? And yeah, it was very quick, very easy, and a nice little stylish scarf. I really like it. Now this is the MVP. These 2 things are the MVP. This is the scarf that keeps me warm in the cold winter. It's incredibly heavy, which I love. I made it very long. It was a bit of a marathon to finish, but I love it. I think it's just absolutely beautiful. It was a Purl Soho pattern. It's just free. It's a smock stitch scarf, and I made it in the same colour as the Louvre. It's the dark blue Cassima? Yeah, oh here it is. Charisma Superwash in colour 37, and then the drops in the lace weight in colour 28, so it's the dark blue. It's so wonderful. I can't even describe how much I love this scarf. It's very heavy, yeah, very long, and just wonderful. I just love it. This is when I need to keep warm. Me and my partner's called Robin. I don't know if I've mentioned that. We went to see Nosferatu recently. It was very fun. I really like horror movies, so I really enjoyed it. And I like Robert Edgers. We went in you know, when it first came out, so it was in January. And it was as cold inside the cinema as it was outside, and that was probably about 0 degrees, maybe even colder. It was so cold. Literally everyone in the cinema at the very end, you sort of turned around and everyone had like coats over their trousers, and you know, we're trying to like huddle to stay warm. I think everyone was sort of also a bit in shock about how cold it was. Anyway, this shawl, scarf, whatever you want to call it, completely saved the day. Because it's so long and it's heavy, me and my partner used it on our legs and around me to keep warm, and it saved us in the 2 hours and however long the movie was, sat in the cold in this cinema. So since then it's it only added to its appeal how good it is. I've used it, yeah, almost like a blanket sometimes. It borders on the what's that guy called? I just had it. No, it's gone. It's lovely. I'll do a close-up of it for you. It's this lovely smock stitch. It's divine. I love it. Can't give it more praise. And I think it's such a beautiful colour. That one, I think I'd run out of the yarn because I just kept on knitting. You don't get a lot of yardage or meterage with that charisma yarn. And I think I just kept knitting. I don't know what ended up happening, but I just kept knitting. So I kept on running out, and when I bought it's fairly cheap, so that's okay, but it does change slightly the colour a little bit halfway. Again, we learn these lessons. But yeah, it's a very good scarf. I recommend it. And finally, this lovely hat. Again, I think it's the Oslo Hat by Petite Knit. It's the ribbed hat. I did in the Rowan hemp tweed, the same one that I did my boyfriend's jumper in, and I did it in Rowan Kid Silk Haze in anthracite colour. It's a sort of grey, black, blue. It's lovely, but it's expensive. But I made a hat. I love it. I think it's such a nice colour. And this one hasn't ballooned. Nothing has happened with it. And this is probably one of the newest things I've knit. So maybe it's my technique's gotten better, or my gauge has gotten better, or something. But yeah, that's everything I've knit. It's quite a thing. So that's everything I've finished so far. I've got more things on the needles. I've got jumper number 15 by my favourite knitwear. I've had that on the needles for a really long time. I stopped knitting it for one reason. I think I was going on holiday or was doing walking or something. So I have that on the needles. I've got another Skall Studio Oda Vest on the needles in the original colour that I was doing it in, which is a white, creamy sort of colour in the merino by Drops. I've got some new yarn from my partner for my birthday very recently. It's the Alla Fazlopi in the Lopi brand. I have the grey, the brown and the cream. I'm going to make a Foike jumper by Linda Newman, which is incredibly exciting. That's this month's plans. I'm also at the same time knitting the Ingrid jumper. I've just started it. It's knitting up so nicely. It's a really enjoyable experience to have so many different aspects, different sections. It's very fun to knit. But I think I don't do very well with having multiple things on the needles. I like to generally finish one piece and then move on to the next one. So it's a bit of a struggle right now, because I really want to finish this jumper, but I also really want to start the Foika jumper. We'll see what happens in the next week. I also don't have more cables for my circular needles, so it might actually be a necessity that I finish the Ingrid before I can even start the Foika jumper, but we'll see. I've got a few scarves, or just little scarves, that I want to complete. I'm doing the Poet scarf by a designer. I'll put her here, I can't remember what her name is. And it's the first pattern I've ever done of hers, and it's using a chart, so it's the Ingrid uses a chart as well, but it's sort of yeah, it's a different experience. But yeah, so thank you for watching. If you got all the way through my marathon of a video, I'm going to make another video about the things that I've sewn, because there's not a crazy amount of pieces that I've sewn, but I want to make more this year. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, it's probably going to be another week's time before I make a new video. This is a sort of project that's for me. I want to keep a sort of accountable to myself in terms of what I make, yeah, and how I've made it. It's fun to make projects like these. I had this idea that I wanted to make some videos and just make them the way I wanted to. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be to such a strict theme. You know, I might include some. I'm an artist as well as an electrician, so you know, these videos might become a bit more arty. It might, you know, who knows what's going to be, what they're going to be. But they will have a lot of knitting and sewing in, that's for sure. So if you like knitting and sewing, then follow along. I like talking about books as well, and movies and all sorts. So if you're interested, please follow along. And thank you very much for watching.